Good. Hi, Naomi. Thank you so much for agreeing to have this chat with me. And to everyone joining us, this is next episode of Maono Chats. We have powerful women telling their stories, sharing their journeys, and of course, enlightening and empowering other women in the process. Today, we have my beautiful friend and amazing professional, Naomi. Naomi, the stage is yours. Tell us about yourself.
Good afternoon, Jessica. Absolutely wonderful to be here. I think we just had a conversation offline about women having to support one another, right? Sometimes
Mm.
things go wrong when we are trying to do good, but it's really just having that empathy and that patience to understand that this is the environment that we operate in. So how are we going to support one another? For your audience, I'm Naomi Thompson. I am what I called a reformed lawyer. What does that mean? You asked me. It's a lawyer that's not practicing. I was in-house for the start of my career. And I really got so bored, Jessica. I was like, give me one more contract to draft. And I was like, I'm just going to scream. So I really just pivoted my career, and I'm sure I can answer but your questions if you want to know
Yeah.
more about that.
Great. So, like, let us go back to when you got bored of doing legal and law stuff. That's my thing. As a woman, you actually pursue a career because, there's something that draws you into it. There's a passion, or
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
people, there's a necessity that you need to live up to
Yeah.
or fulfill. So,
Yeah.
what in legal or what in law got you frustrated?
Okay. All righty. So let me start with what got me excited. Why did I
Mm.
want to become a lawyer? I was really a little girl, went with my parents into a law office when they bought their very first property or tried to buy their very first property, and I was fascinated. It was it was a person of color. I'm not going to give my age away, but back in my days, he was probably the only one in the small area that I grew up that was a lawyer, and I was like, that looks fun. I want to do that. Anyway, as kids are, you go ahead and you want to become everything else under the sun. You forget you want to be a lawyer. Until I was 12 years old and my eldest brother died. And his attorney really thought that my parents were uneducated from a small little town in the Eastern Cape. And they really tried to swindle my parents out of their rightful inheritance of what my brother had and was supposed to go to my parents. So I was like, I'm becoming a lawyer and I'm coming back for you. Well, at the time, I didn't understand prescription and all of those wonderful things that, you can't wait so many years. But that kind of like really just like drove me, and I had a passion to really become a lawyer because I'm always advocating for someone, always like trying to like, do something. And just being a
For the
lawyer
next
seemed like I'd be able to do so much good, right? Then I did become a lawyer, and of course, what you think it's going to be, what it is on TV, is not necessarily what it is in practice. I still love the content of law, but I really didn't enjoy the drafting side. I don't really enjoy getting into doing the opinion work. So right now, I'm still in the legal profession in a very different capacity. And what I do now fulfills me. It brings me joy. It brings me joy to help other lawyers. So I've gone right back to me wanting to help people
To
and
the
just
beginning
helping
of
other lawyers. How can you work better? And I think that frustrated me because I'm always looking for efficiencies. And it's like, but why are we doing this? When you're going to, at the press of a button, generate a contract, or like, how can we be more efficient around it? So that is kind of like how I came a full circle.
Oh, all right. Now I understand. Well, let us go back to because you say one thing that I relate to, which is advocating for people. Do you think, and this is a very contradictory type of question, just to
Right.
spice it up, but do you think that's a burden or that's a cause that women take upon themselves to advocate for people? Because what I see in the professional world, even at work, you always find that one other woman that you want to protect or help get somewhere. I've seen examples, I've been through situations.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's a thing that is like specific to women?
I think it's more prevalent with women. And it probably comes from whether it is our upbringing. You'll see from being a little girl, you are being told that, you know what, you need to take care of your siblings, or you need to take care of someone, or you are always having to protect or advocate. And then we still have, you know, how our physiological components of how women are the carers. So it's like automatically there's something about us that want to take care. And I'm not saying that it's prevalent in all women, but with a lot of women, you have that kind of ability to want to advocate for others. It's a double-edged sword. It comes as a burden. You know, at sometimes, and you could go to the extreme where you advocate so much on behalf of someone else, but are you advocating for yourself? And this is a lot of what I'm trying to tell my mentees. I'm like, please advocate for yourself, because you will see your counterpart that's a male. You will go into a meeting and go, hello, I have just done this campaign and it was so successful and this happened. And as a woman, we expect people to see what we do. No, I'm not going to go tell them that I've done that. Oh my word.
Shut yourself
You must
down.
be humble. No, girl, advocate for yourself, because you know what? Like, you will find other women trying to do it, but they have so much responsibilities. It's so much happening. And even if someone wants to advocate for you, they can't smell what you're doing. They don't know what you are doing. So you know what? Speak up. Try small. Start advocating for yourself with your friends. That's your comfort zone, right? So maybe that's a place where you will start building the confidence. So yeah, just double-edged sword, 100%.
It is a double-edged sword. I mean, this conversation is all about being transparent and being as vulnerable as you can be for other women. So here's my thing. We were having a conversation right before this call started. And I've been planning this call with you for some reason. Of course, like, you're amazing, but for some reason I was drawn to you. I'm like, no, she just has the element that I need for a first conversation on LinkedIn. Your profile, everything, but actually your energy and the person that you are. But I kept postponing it in my head without even talking to you. I kept postponing it because most of the times I felt insecure about doing it. I've never done it on LinkedIn. I've done it in other platforms, but not on a platform that your whole CV is exposed, like your network is. I was like, I kept postponing it. I kept like doubting myself. But then whenever I reached out to you, you'd be so open, like, no, let's do it. No, let's do it. And when you said like, no, just like, I've been waiting for you. I'm like, okay, I think it was like some sort of confirmation bias that I didn't need to have, you know? And I think, and from what I've seen also from women, is the fact that we doubt ourselves to the point where we confirm that we're not good enough or we don't deserve to be in certain spaces. How are you navigating that nowadays? Because I don't know if it still happens to you. Do you still go through it, or do you experience it in some extent? How do you navigate it? Because it's always there. The imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, the I'm not good enough factor is always there. So how do you navigate it?
Always. And it doesn't matter how successful you are in your career. It doesn't matter how much you grow. We have that all the time. What I always say to myself, you have enough people in society breaking you down. Why are you doing it to yourself? There is something that I 100% believe in, and I actually I've attended several of his courses. It's Mind Power with Robin Banks. And you know, it's not about positive thinking. It's not about saying, oh, I can do this, but it really is about the science of our beliefs. And going back down to, like, he does this technique with us where he says, we're reading those negative thoughts. So when you catch yourself thinking, what am I thinking? What am I saying? Oh, I can't do this. Start asking yourself, but why are you thinking that you can't do that? You know what? You start replacing those self-doubts with seeds of, I am phenomenal. You do your affirmations. Can I actually tell you a secret, Jess?
Yes, please.
And it's just listening. So sometimes especially when I'm sitting and working, there may be like a LinkedIn Live that comes up and I listen to it. Today, this late afternoon, there was a LinkedIn Live about LinkedIn and a lot of tips and tricks around LinkedIn, right? I know it's a lot more professional. It's not as casual as you'd probably have Instagram and stuff. And she was talking about, she says, do a lot more LinkedIn Lives. And I'm sitting there thinking, woo, I'm too intimidated to do a LinkedIn Live. How do you do a LinkedIn Live? So you just go and you click on LinkedIn and you start talking to people. No one wants to listen to you speaking. So like, you know what? I have that same conversation with myself. So I get how intimidating it is, right?
Mm.
What is our brothers gonna do? What is the other young man gonna do? He's not gonna worry about anything. He's just gonna jump in and do it. If it doesn't work, there will be a lesson that you learn from it.
That's
So
true.
you know what? You still gain something. And if it did
Mm.
work, well, yay, great. You know what? And you can build on it. So my motto is feel the fear and do it anyway.
Oof, trust me, I know what you're talking about. It's the same fear you have when you go on stage to give like a keynote speech or something, and you're shaking like a leaf, and you still need to hold yourself together and make it look easy. It's terrible. I'm telling you, it's terrible for the first 5 seconds, but it's
I
amazing
know.
afterwards. And I think one of
Yeah.
the things that also keeps me going is the aftermath of everything. When you actually do it, irrespective of the result, you're like, I actually did. I pushed myself to this point, and I'm capable. I can do it.
Yes, yes. And you're like, but what was the big deal? Like it wasn't that hard. Okay, that's okay. That was fine. And you know what? I think that's how we need to approach our careers. We need to approach everything. It's like if you don't put yourself there, we
Mm,
miss 100% of the opportunities that we do not go for, that we do not try. Um, and I do have a lot of mentees that are very young, that's starting out their careers. And like they're telling me, but we keep on getting no's. And I'm like, that's okay. Because every single no just leads you closer to your perfect yes. What did you learn from that experience? Did you learn to interview better? Did you learn to rewrite your cover letter better? What did you learn from that experience that you got to know from? And we all hate it. I mean, we're human beings. Come on. We're not superwoman that's going to say like, you know what? I'm trying something. I failed at it. Maybe you'll shed a tear. Maybe you'll just feel horrible but it's okay. You're still going to be you and you're still going to be phenomenal.
okay. That was a nutshell. Like, okay, we're phenomenal. Let's just go with that. You mentioned earlier before that you, one of the things that drives you is the fact that you can advocate for other people. And I wanted to ask you, what was the pivotal moment in your career professionally? I know like you've done quite a number of things from running businesses to being an employee. I don't know, what was the moment that gave you that light, like of what I need to do in my life, what I need to do with my career? What was that moment? Was it in a job? Was it in your own endeavors? What was it?
Jess, I think there are so many moments that led up to this, but if I have to think about a pivotal moment, so
Yeah.
I was in a position where I wasn't happy with what I was doing, but we also had a leader that was really just not a great leader. And from a diversity and inclusion perspective, the few of us in his team felt like we were there just because he needed to fill a number. And I was seriously unhappy. I kept on thinking I need to just leave and find another job. But you also realize if you do not confront your giants will find you in the next place.
Oh,
You
yeah.
need to be able to stand up to them and confront them. And I remember very clearly the day I decided, hey, no, this is it. No, enough is enough. We will not be treated this way. And, I was so privileged that I had the ear of the CEO. The CEO said, come sit down, let's talk, because he was a leader. He was a
Mm.
leader that knew how to lead, what people
Others?
needed, and how to uncover. Obviously, he didn't just take my word for it. He ended up doing like a big scale investigation. And that's when he asked me, Naomi, what do you want to do? Where do you want to be in this business? And I'm
Mm.
like, this is where I'd like to be. This is where I want to pivot to. And he's like, so let's make it happen. It took a couple of months for me to find the perfect role. And so it was that period. And I ended up stepping into a role that I just loved. I had a leader that became my mentor that really showed me, it's like, this is what I excel at. This is what makes me get up in the morning and go, let's go to work, people. Let's get this done. Oh my word, it's amazing. But it was me having the courage to stand up for myself and advocate for myself that actually led me to, let's say, being that pivotal time in my life.
Mm. Uh, that just gave me my next question, not on my books, but how to,
Right.
because this is my thing. We are women of color, let's just say it. We're women of color. And for us, aside, other than being a woman, which is already very challenging in the
Yes.
workplace,
Yeah.
being of color just makes it harder. Let's put it like that.
Yes. Yeah.
How do we drive change in this environment? Because of course we came from there's no women to now there's a few women, and now we need to women of color also need space. They deserve to be here. They're smart enough, they're valuable enough. So I think there's a lot of changes happening at once, and none of them is impactful enough. Do I make sense?
Yes.
So how
Yeah.
do we drive change? Because we're trying to make strides. We're trying to create businesses and, be professionals of reference. But how do we drive this change?
I think you and I will probably be multimillionaires if we have the actual answer to this. Right? How, Jess? How do we make change? And I think it's a question that probably keeps a lot of us up at night. But what I do know is that there is power in numbers.
Oh,
And there is power in us actually. So you're trying to do something, I'm trying to do something. There's every single person in our little silos trying to change. But why aren't we coming together and say, you know what, as a collective, this is our agenda and this is what we want to drive. We need to have more of those moments, and we need to have more of the platforms and the opportunities where we say, for example, like Leah and myself are women in legal and in legal tech, right? There is, how do we mobilize everyone in this space and say, how are we going to change this? And then the second thing for me is finding allies. Sometimes our allies does not lie with another woman of color. It maybe doesn't even lie with another woman. Who are the men out there, irrespective of their race, but who are the men that are the allies, because they may have a seat at a table that we don't have a seat at. They may have a decision-making power that we don't have. So we need to bring them along and say, you know what, we're not going to fight this battle by ourselves, because you know what, we're going to be siloed and we're going to be shut out, and we're going to be moving things around. And there's boardrooms happening. Who's in that boardrooms? Are we in the boardrooms? If we're not, let's find people in that seats that can advocate for us and that can make changes. And don't underestimate the incremental changes, because sometimes we may be making small strides, and then one day we wake up and we go, look, we have, you know what, collectively we've actually moved the needle.
I have two last questions for you, Naomi. I can't keep you for too long. But here's my thing. Who is the woman that you admire the most and why?
There again, I have a number of women that I admire. Yes, you keep asking me impossible questions, right? So The obvious one is Michelle Obama, right? Michelle Obama, she's a lawyer as well. Michelle Obama, if you're listening to this, I would really love to bring it to South Africa, because I think that the South African woman needs some of, you know what, your grace and your wisdom. And it's like Michelle is never a second act. She is as powerful as she is in her own right, in her own standing, despite her husband being a world-renowned leader. Like, you know what, she's not just a first lady. Michelle Obama, she's a powerful lawyer, she is a mother, she's graceful, and like, you know what, just her outlook on life and how she also want to impact. And then she does it with a partner. She's got her ally in Obama, right? And she just owns her space. And then, of course, there's a myriad of other women, including my mother. My mother was, whoa, that woman was a force to be reckoned with, man. It's like, I always
She gave us you. We're very grateful to her. Please.
The lawyer in this family was my mother. It was not me. I'm like, man, you would have, like, you know what? If my mother was born in a time like this, she would have shattered glass ceilings. She would have broken down walls, because for her time, she was progressive without having had an education, without having had any privilege. I can really thank her for the fact that I am here today.
Oh, that's so cute. I want to talk about my mother too, but another day. But I understand. I want you to leave us, of course, you're on LinkedIn, and the number of people in this platform, especially women, looking for a position in a career and something to amount to a professional or to a businesswoman. So can you give us like a tip for young professional women in this platform? If you have to, irrespective of the area, just one tip you have to give them.
Jessica, it's networking. Network with people, whether it is females or males, and always make sure that you bring value to that network, because a network, and our network that we have, is like an investment account. You deposit in it, it will grow, it will multiply, and one day you'll look back and go, oh my word, look what this has brought for me. And it doesn't matter where you're at. If someone knows you and you're engaged with them and you share value with them, at one point they will turn around and go, but Jessica, how can I help you? What can I do for you? So yeah, that's my one tip that I have.
Network and provide value. Those are two things that I believe in, because networking, it's easy if you just want to chit chat. But if you do have value to offer, and value just means you listen to people, you engage with them, and you find a way to provide value to them. So very on point.
And it doesn't matter what that value is, right? Because you can chit chat, you can connect with someone, they're gonna forget you. Then what? But you know what? I know Jessica. Jessica reached out to me and says, you know what? I'm writing this blog. Would you like to add to it? Like, you know what? It is empowering women. I remember Jessica. And from there, we built a connection. And from there, we built a friendship. Now, you know what? Jessica's my friend. And that is where it started. Total strangers, ended up connecting with one another. So, and your network really is, and you know, I cannot stress this more for young people. Being in university, that's where you start, because can you imagine if you start investing in relationships, right? From that age onwards, what are you going to be when you're in your 30s? Like, you know what? Your network will be global.
No, I agree. Naomi, to finalize this and to let you go, sadly, please give us a quote that you live by. It can be your quote or a quote that you've read somewhere that you live by, that in those times of need, it comes through for you.
I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. Feel the fear and do it anyway, because you actually don't know the beautiful roads that it may take you to, and the journey that you will go on by taking the opportunity, taking the risk. take 1 year and say, this year, making it my year of the yes. I'm going to just say yes. Okay, within reason. I'm going to say yes to every opportunity that comes my way. Who knows what you learn from it? But you know what? We are all afraid of something. We are all afraid to put ourselves out there. But it is okay to feel the fear. It's okay to be afraid. Go and do it.
Naomi, from the bottom of my heart and from my network, thank you so much for being here today, for making the time, for sharing that much knowledge with us. I'm sure this will be like so empowering and enlightening for other women. Yes, for other professionals as well, but I'm biased, so for other women, this will be extremely interesting. And I can only thank you and appreciate you for being here.
It is
Thank you
my
so
absolute
much.
pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to share this space and this time with you. And to your network, anyone watching this, I wish you every single bit of success as you grow on your journey and as you take the next steps within your professional life. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Naomi.
Bye.
This was one first episode of Maono Chats on LinkedIn. Words can describe it. I'm extremely happy. I'm excited. And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching, for sharing, for commenting. Thank you. And stay tuned for the next episode. I'm Jessica Mayisa. Bye-bye.